Actor Dean Cain, who I will say is most well known for, well, not just online bigotry and bigotry in general, but Superman, because he was the co-star of Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, recently went on a tirade and explained how he's too stupid to understand the concept and who Superman is. So let's get into it. This video is going to piss off a lot of people. Where do I even begin? I suppose I should start with Dean Cain, aka the Superman from the only project that Superman gets second billing in, aka Superman from Lois and Clark. Superman, who has in the last 10-15 years exposed himself as a person who totally doesn't even understand Superman, criticizing Superman Returns back in the day, criticizing Man of Steel, criticizing the CW versions of Superman, and criticizing, lately, Superman, because he believes that Superman should conform to right-wing ideology. I told you this was going to go places you don't hear me talk about much, but for this video, I have to go there, so I'm sorry. Now, since we are also talking about Dean Cain, who is 58 years old and born in 1996, his real name is, and I quote, Dean George Tanaka. Did you know that he doesn't go by his real name? Do you know why? Because his heritage is Irish, and you would think that that would play into him not being this much of an idiot, but also, his dad was Japanese, and he took on a different name in hopes of having a successful career. Mind you, that if he was cast as Superman today, because this is public knowledge, he would straight up be destroyed by the same people that idolize him today as their Superman, because he is the anti-woke Superman. How funny is it that the anti-woke Superman and the one that hates immigrants and the one who constantly belittles what it is to be an immigrant and how it's all about true Americans and natives is in fact somebody that is half Japanese? Because today's fan base, if he was cast today and he didn't have this rhetoric, would absolutely demolish and rip him apart. Ironic, right? So now that I got that out of the way, let's get into part one of how Dean Cain is too stupid to understand Superman. So in a recent interview with Variety, Dean Cain was asked about his views on Superman. And while talking to them, he said, and I quote, James Gunn and his decision to make Ma and Pa Kent the stupid rednecks, that's a choice, end quote. Okay. I know plenty of people who would be considered redneck, okay? It's just the town I grew up in. A lot of people are like that. They like to do what is called mud bogging for fun, okay? I went to school with them. Nothing but respect. Many of these people are super intelligent. It's just the way you're raised, right? Everybody's raised differently. Let's talk about the redneck thing. Implying that they're redneck and using the word stupid to describe them, making them stupid rednecks. What in the movie defined them as stupid? Sure, you can use redneck as a slang or derogatory, if you will, right? Just like how people call Romani people the G word. I won't say it here, even though people know that I know people. I have people that are married into my family that would be considered that. I'm not going to use it for the sake of this video, okay? I'll respect your guys, and I won't use that word again, even though technically whatever, right? What I'm saying here is, what makes Ma and Pa Kent stupid rednecks in this film? All I saw while watching the film was the best possible parents that you could possibly have. Parents that are accepting. Parents that understand that their son is different and embrace him and raise him no matter what. Parents that see him make a mistake and still love him because they know he can be better and is better than that. The Kents in this film, the only thing that would classify them as a redneck would be the fact that they're from down south. And if you compare them to the stereotypical redneck, they are literally nothing like that. Nowhere in this film did I see them doing what a stereotypical redneck you would see on the United States news for doing something stupid or how the rest of the world might portray them because of social media and whatever. There is none of that here. Not once were they ever showed like that. So what does he mean that he decided to make them stupid rednecks? Because there's not a single ounce of strength in this. The problem is that Dean Cain has a fundamental misunderstanding of what he's watching, and he formulates something in his brain because he can't think about it a little bit deeper. He sees a person down south, and he automatically thinks they're a redneck? That is the shallowest, dumbest, most incompetent way to put together a thought. That's like me going outside, seeing a woman in high heels, and automatically assuming that she is a night worker. You know what I'm saying, right? No, maybe she just likes to dress like that. Maybe she's going out to have fun. Do you guys see what I mean? He fundamentally doesn't understand what he's watching. And he has a level of comprehension that we should not listen to his criticism in regards to the superhero that he played. But don't worry, it doesn't stop there, because he likes to criticize how Superman is vulnerable. And then he adds, and Superman has to be saved, like, repeatedly. On a movie this size, every decision is a choice made carefully, and DC Studios co-head Peter Safran is a Princeton guy too. A year ahead of me, but he's never hired me. Okay, so, oh my god. Okay, let's get into this. Okay, so he starts with, and Superman has to be saved, like, repeatedly. Okay, let's tackle this. I'm not sure if Dean has suffered some sort of, cognitive problems, but his Superman, as I watched all of Lois and Clark when I moved to the United States, and have since it ended, he gets saved multiple times. You know by who? Other people, and especially Lois. In every iteration of Superman that's worth a damn, where you can connect to the character, he has vulnerabilities. He is not a godlike creature that can't be phased. That's what people who don't understand Superman make him out to be, because they have the comprehension of somebody whose cognitive understanding has not moved past the age of 12, where the strongest thing in the world is the coolest thing ever. Oh my god, I love Goku. And that's their version. And if Goku ever even takes a punch that slightly makes him weaker than what they grew up idolizing, he clearly hates it and doesn't understand it, because he doesn't understand that characters as powerful as Superman are also vulnerable. And he talks about him constantly being saved. If you've ever picked up a comic, multiple times throughout comics, Superman is constantly laid out, and or in one of the most famous comics of all time, The Death of Superman, Superman dies. There's been other times where he also dies and is put out, and others have to take up the mantle and or defend Metropolis and the world because he's not there. Fundamentally understanding that Superman does need help, and he does like to get help, because that shows that even he is like the rest of them, is core to this character. Something that even his TV series directly tackled. And also, why does he bring in Peter Safran into this, talking about how, oh, he's a Princeton guy. I am too. He was just a year ahead of me. Why didn't he hire me? Why is he never hiring me? Why are you so jealous? You are clearly begging for a job here. People have stopped hiring you because of your views of the rest of the world, how you belittle people, how you don't understand basic storytelling, which I've just covered for the last 10 minutes of this video, or however long we're into this, post-edit, of course. And I just question, what is the point of this quote? Like, what are you actually trying to do here? Why would they hire you when you seem to be completely delusional? You think just because you went to Princeton, you're somehow owed something that somebody else has? Okay. What sort of logic is that? Maybe if you weren't such a bigoted, terrible human being online, people would give a about you. But they don't, as most Superman fans have denounced you as Superman. And most say you are the worst Superman to ever wear the cape. And you are really making an argument for this that's hard to argue against because you factually are now. You don't understand what it means to be Superman. Now, let me read you another quote from him where he literally acknowledges the uphill battle he had and how he's completely turned on his exact laurels and how tough it was for him to get the gig because he was racially profiled. So as I already talked about it in the opening segment, Dean Cain is half Japanese. So this is the other quote that he gave. He said, and I quote, "My buddy turns to me and goes, 'Man, for the rest of your life, people are going to call you Superman.' I couldn't fathom that being cast at the time, but it truly changed my life insanely. It was 1993, and I remember a fan going, 'We want Superman, not Sushi Man.' This was the backlash to the casting, as my father was Japanese American. And I said, 'For the love of God, he's a Kryptonian. He could be green. Does it matter?'" End quote. Okay, Dean, so you just proved a point, right? Somehow your brain could process at this moment something you couldn't process earlier about Ma and Pa Kent and calling them stupid rednecks. So you openly just here said that literally somebody turned to you and they racially profiled you and said they don't want Sushi Man because you're half Japanese. And then you turn around and straight up look at American people living in the South and call them stupid rednecks. How is this any different? Again, I'm trying to prove a point here that I don't think he understands what he's talking about, and I do think he's too stupid to understand Superman. Because so many things he said recently just don't add up. He can show his humanity, show that he's vulnerable, show that he was also racially profiled against, and I remember, I was very young. I remember getting the internet in 1996. It was the early days. I remember searching Superman and Lois and landing on the early forms and discussions. And I remember seeing so much hatred and vitriol and words that at the time I didn't even understand. I was too young to understand what racism is really, but it kind of clicked with me being an immigrant of a G-side war. I kind of realized what was happening. I was like, oh wow, man, they really hate him, huh? And that's when I was like, no, I'm going to give this show a chance. I'm going to go watch it. It's airing. I can't wait to see it. And he became my Superman. Because I saw how he was treated online in forums and even in articles back then where people were literally pointing out that you can't have a Japanese Superman. So for him to turn around and do the same exact thing and disregard kindness and respect truly shows that something is functionally wrong with his brain. And then when they asked him about the racism in the country, the way people are acting towards immigrants and foreigners and everything like that, and his stance and whether or not he's changed any of his tune because, hey, Superman wouldn't stand for this, he doubles and triples down praising the president for everything he's done and how he's treated immigrants. And I would go much deeper into this, but I really don't want to. Because people are already going to get mad at me for this. I can already see the racist comments for me. I can already see them. Sure, I'm white, but I wasn't born in the United States. I have an accent, depending on what I say. It always shows up in the comments. I see it, trust me. So I don't need to get into this, into what he said about how he loves President Trump and everything he's done and how he's locking people up and praising Alligator Alcatraz or anything. Because Dean Cain is fundamentally a moron. That's how I'm going to end this video. I'm going to call him a moron. Because he is. It's disappointing that somebody that plays one of the most iconic superheroes, most iconic immigrant superheroes in the world, who's half Japanese, who admits that he was also hated for what he did and what he looked like because he was half Japanese, and also talked about in other interviews how his dad was looked down upon and spit upon, and his mom, who again is Irish descent, and we know how the Irish feel about various things that happened to them, including the manufactured famine, which wasn't an actual famine. The fact that he doesn't understand any of this, it shows you what type of person he is. He's a despicable human being and the absolute worst person to wear that suit in any sort of project that got that much praise. Absolutely despicable. Thank you for checking out that video, and thank you for your continued support. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, do whatever you will, and if you're so inclined and would like some additional content from us, which includes unfiltered content and bonus discussions, we do offer exclusively in our member section. We hope to see you there. So thank you for watching, and have a good one.